They're everywhere, on your screen, on the runway, in the front row at Paris Fashion Week, and in the credits of every indie film. They're the children of the rich, the beautiful, and the famous. They're called nepo babies, a cheeky shorthand for nepotism babies, the sons and daughters of celebrities who have seemingly inherited not just wealth, but fame, roles, brand deals, and fan bases. In the last few years, the internet has become obsessed with calling them out. There's something visceral about seeing someone born into luxury take up yet another high-profile job with what seems like minimal effort. It's no longer just a quirk, but it's a genre of celebrity, a meme format, and an object of both envy and disdain. But this video isn't just about the existence of nepo babies. It's about why we are so obsessed with them, why we keep naming them, shaming them, analyzing their every red carpet look, and dissecting whether they've earned their place in the spotlight or not. Are we jealous, angry, morally righteous, or just terminally online? So let's dig deep into the nepo baby discourse, where it came from, what it reveals about fame, and what it means for our culture's relationship with celebrity, talent, and fairness. The term nepo baby went from niche internet slang to cultural flashpoint in late 2022 when New York Magazine dropped a viral cover story titled "The Year of the Nepo Baby." It featured an ironically photoshopped image of celebrity offspring with pacifiers and diaper pins, playfully infantilizing the stars we'd been watching for years. Overnight, the term exploded. TikTok creators made lists and reaction videos, Twitter threads went viral with photos of side-by-side comparisons, parent and child, both famous, both hot, and both rich. The framing was part expose, part comedy. It was less gotcha journalism and more cultural pattern recognition. And while doing so, a realization was spreading. Is everyone in this industry connected? But it wasn't just that people were famous, it was how easily they seemed to rise. Why did Brooklyn Beckham go from failed photography to cooking videos without a clear skill set? Why was Lily Rose Depp cast in The Idol when her acting was panned? The question wasn't just who are these people, but what are they even doing? TikTok and Twitter, platforms obsessed with visibility and performance, became fertile ground for this kind of critique. Audiences, especially already skeptical of institutions and allergic to performative authenticity, latched onto the term. It was funny, it was petty, but it was also political. We were no longer watching celebrities, we were also decoding them. But let's be honest, nepotism is nothing new. Hollywood has always been a family business. Look at the Barrymores, the Fondas, the Hustons. If you go back far enough, you'll find nepotism at every level of cultural production, from aristocratic painters to musical dynasties. But the digital age makes it feel different. In the past, you might have seen a last name and vaguely suspected a connection. Today, however, a quick Google search reveals the entire web of family relations. Directors who cast their daughters, models signed because of their last names, producers who greenlight scripts written by their friends' kids. And in music, it's no different. Miley Cyrus, daughter of Billy Ray Cyrus, Jaden and Willow Smith, Jacob Dylan, and even in the fashion world, nepotism runs deep as well. Think of Kaya Gerber, daughter of Cindy Crawford, who didn't just model, but she also walked top shows before age 20. Vogue did not discover her, but instead she was born into it. We also see this clearly in journalism, tech, and politics. Nepotism is not unique to celebrities, but it's endemic to power. But when we look at nepo babies, we're not just seeing unfairness, we're seeing something deeper, a cultural structure that rewards the already privileged with even more visibility. At the core of the nepo baby discourse is a deep frustration with the myth of meritocracy, the idea that talent, hard work, and perseverance are enough to make it. This myth has been sold to us for decades, especially in American culture where the rags to riches story is practically intrinsically sacred. We want to believe in merit. We want to think that our favorite actors and musicians made it because they were special, not because they were connected. But every time a nepo baby stumbles into success with minimal struggle, it chips away at that fantasy. This isn't just about entertainment, but it's also about how capitalism disguises inequality as merit. The outrage at nepo babies is really an expression of disappointment that we're still playing a rigged game. When you're working 2 jobs and auditioning on the side, seeing someone land a lead role because their dad is famous feels like a slap in the face. When you've studied fashion design for years and a celebrity kid gets a luxury brand collaboration just for being pretty, it hurts. And yet, we keep watching. One of the most common critiques of nepo babies isn't just that they're privileged, but it's also that they're mediocre. When people talk about Brooklyn Beckham's photography or Kendall Jenner's runway walk, the subtext isn't just that they didn't work hard, it's that the work isn't good. This points to a deeper cultural discomfort. We're watching people coast on connections while producing unremarkable results. It's not about jealousy alone, it's about a mismatch between visibility and value. Kendall Jenner, for instance, is often accused of being the blandest supermodel for her generation. She walks the runway with all the charisma of a mannequin, yet she's one of the highest paid models in the world. Why? Because she's a Kardashian, because she has Instagram followers, because fashion is about buzz more than skill. Brooklyn Beckham tried photography, then modeling, then cooking. Each time, however, critics pointed out how unrefined and unpolished his work was, but the opportunities just kept coming. He wasn't succeeding because of talent, he was succeeding in spite of the lack of it. This further creates a cultural dissonance. We're being told to care about people whose work isn't compelling. Nepo babies are oftentimes aesthetically pleasing, but artistically underwhelming. They're beautiful, yes, but beauty is no longer enough. Not in a world saturated with influencers, creators, and hungry artists clawing for attention. So when we see the same last names again and again, paired with lukewarm performances, it starts to feel like cultural stagnation, as if we're watching a feedback loop of fame, people famous for being adjacent to fame. Now, of course, not all nepo babies are untalented. Some are genuinely brilliant, and their lineage might explain the early access, but not the sustained success. Think Zoe Kravitz, whose performances in Big Little Lies and The Batman prove she's more than just her last name. Or Maya Hawke, whose vulnerable acting in Stranger Things and dreamy indie music have earned her critical praise. Or Dakota Johnson, who's navigated the tricky terrain between mainstream and indie stardom with dry wit and distinct charisma. So, what separates these nepo babies from the rest? Well, in many cases, it's self-awareness. It's transparency. It's the ability to own the privilege without pretending it doesn't exist. Dakota Johnson's viral interviews where she exudes aloof, sardonic energy have made her a kind of nepo baby icon. She's not trying to be just like us. In fact, she knows she isn't, and that honesty is refreshing. The public seems more willing to embrace nepo babies who demonstrate talent and individuality. The backlash hits hardest when the celebrity child denies their privilege or seems to take up space without offering anything new. For example, Lily Rose Depp once told Elle that the term nepo baby is sexist and that people wouldn't question her success if she were a man. The comment, while arguably half true, missed the point and came off as defensive. It reinforced the idea that some nepo babies are not only privileged but deluded about how that privilege functions. We live in an era of hypervisibility. Everyone is a brand, everyone is performing, and nowhere is this more intense than on social media, where celebrities are expected to be relatable, authentic, and constantly online. For nepo babies, this pressure to be one of us collides with the reality that they are not. They grew up in wealth. They knew stylists and agents before they could drive. Their childhood friends were other celebrities' kids. So when they try to appear down to earth, it oftentimes rings false. Yet, ironically, the internet has also given them a platform to build their own brands. Take Hailey Bieber, for instance, formerly Baldwin, who's transformed herself from B-list model to skincare mogul and TikTok favorite. Or Iris Law, daughter of Jude Law, who has crafted a niche online aesthetic around edgy Gen Z fashion. These celebs are engaging in what some critics might call manufactured authenticity, the art of appearing casual and unbothered while actually performing a tightly curated persona. It's aspirational but approachable, beautiful but messy enough to feel real. The problem, we can kind of tell it's fake. Gen Z in particular has a high sensitivity to inauthenticity. We can spot a PR strategy wrapped in an "I just woke up like this" selfie. That's why the nepo baby discourse thrives on platforms like TikTok and Twitter, where irony and critique move faster than the celebrities themselves. And in this parasocial culture, where we form fake relationships with people we don't know, nepo babies are uniquely aggravating. We are told to admire them, relate to them, trust them, but their lives are fundamentally unrelatable. They're born on third base, acting like they hit a triple. It's impossible to talk about nepo babies without addressing how gender shapes the way they're perceived. Female nepo babies often face far harsher scrutiny than their male counterparts. Their looks, bodies, clothes, and Instagram captions are dissected. There's a deep misogyny underlying the way women are policed for taking up space, especially when their fame feels unearned. Take Kendall Jenner versus Jaden Smith. Both are nepo babies, both have benefited immensely from their famous families, but the critiques of Kendall are often much more intense and personal. She's called boring, wooden, undeserving. Jaden, meanwhile, is seen as eccentric or creative even when his work is uneven. There's a particular hatred for the pretty but talentless nepo baby girl. She becomes a symbol of everything wrong with the beauty industrial complex. It's no coincidence that Lily Rose Depp, Kaya Gerber, and Iris Law all became models first, before being taken seriously as actresses or creatives. Their looks came before their craft, and the public doesn't forgive that easily. There's also that cool girl trap. Women like Zoe Kravitz or Dakota Johnson, who succeed in carving a niche, are often praised for being edgy, smart, or self-aware, but that line is thin. One wrong comment or bad role, and they're back to being privileged frauds. Men, by contrast, are allowed to experiment, fail, and be weird. Brooklyn Beckham can reinvent himself every 6 months without being called a disgrace. The gender gap in nepo baby discourse reflects broader cultural double standards, where women must prove themselves over and over, and men are simply given the benefit of the doubt. At its core, this discourse isn't just about fame, but it's also about class. It's about wealth. It's about access. It's about the unease we feel living in a society where opportunities are increasingly tied to who you know and what you're born into. The obsession with nepo babies reflects a deeper cultural anxiety. What does success mean anymore? If the same families dominate every industry, where does that leave everyone else? We're constantly told that we live in a society where anyone can make it, but the data tells a different story. Class mobility is declining, wealth inequality is rising, and even making it often requires unpaid internships, elite education, or family connections. Nepo babies become scapegoats for a larger problem. We project our anger onto them not because they're the root cause, but because they're the symbol. They represent a system that feels unfair, closed off, and rigged from the start. And at the same time, we're fascinated by them. We follow them on Instagram. We buy the products they promote. We watch the shows they star in. We gossip, meme, parody, but we also consume. This contradiction, resenting them while obsessively watching them, is at the heart of this phenomenon. It's not just hatred, it's envy, curiosity, and confusion. We hate them for being born into power, but we also wonder, what if that were me? So why are we still obsessed with nepo babies? Because they're more than celebrities. They're avatars of inequality. They expose the invisible scaffolding that holds up the entertainment industry, and by extension, our culture. They remind us that talent isn't always enough, that access beats hustle, that fame isn't meritocratic, it's dynastic. But the real question is not why do they exist, but instead it's why does the system keep rewarding them? We're not mad at the players, we're mad at the game. A game that's increasingly rigged, increasingly obvious, and increasingly hard to opt out of. And yet, we keep watching, we keep scrolling, we keep consuming the very culture we claim to detest. Because deep down, nepo babies reflect the contradictions within us all. Our belief in merit, our desire for privilege, our worship of beauty, our desire for fairness. So maybe it's not really about them at all. Maybe it's about us and the messy, unfair, and deeply human ways we navigate fame, success, and visibility in the 21st century.